is a little bit thicker and it's a little bit softer. So these go down quite easily. Once you start chewing on these, they're gonna jump into your mouth. Then to wash all this down, I have here, this is honey, citron, and ginger tea. It looks like marmalade, but you put about 2 tablespoons in a container. I usually add some coconut water, and you could add a little Kool-Aid of your own or whatever, and it's quite refreshing. So that's what I'm going to be sipping on today. Then the next non-basketball category is my music tips. You know, those of you who know me, I mix a lot of music. I have probably close to 1,000 CDs. And so my music tip for today, first of all, we're gonna go into the gospel. This is one of my favorite gospel artists, Donnie McClurkin, live in London. He's the singer of the song We Fall Down, and of course, We Get Up. And then the second CD for today, which is just so ironic that Matthew mentioned this in Coach Neighbors, but the soundtrack for the movie Love and Basketball. It's a great soundtrack, and I'm not just being biased. It's got some great songs, Al Green, MC Light, Angie Stone. So if you don't have it, look it up. The song by Michelle Ndegeocello is the ending one, Fool of Me. So I won't sing it to spare all of you some misery. Okay, so getting back to the history, we are almost done with AIAW, the champions, which, you know, in 1982, like I said earlier, there were 2 national champions. That was Rutgers in the AIAW and Louisiana Tech was the NCAA champion. So let me backtrack. I want to talk about a very storied program, the Old Dominion University Lady Monarchs. And they were a powerhouse. They really helped get women's basketball in the public eye and on the map. Their coach, who many of you have heard of or know, was Coach Marianne Stanley, who was the coach there from 77 to 87. Marianne was an All-American point guard at Immaculata College, who I also talked about way early, the Mighty Macs. She is currently the head coach for the Indiana Fever in the WNBA. She was a longtime WNBA assistant for in the league, and last year she was assistant on the Washington Mystics, and you know they won the league title. Now Old Dominion in Division I, they are in the top 10 as the number 8 winningest program. They have 1,068 wins in their program, and I think currently, I don't know if she's on the call, but Delisha Milton-Jones is the new head coach, and I know she's going to do a great job there. Some of the other coaches that have gone there, Wendy Larry, who under Wendy Larry, Old Dominion won 17 straight Colonial Athletic Association league titles. And a little further on after that, Nikki McCray, who just recently left to become the new head coach at Mississippi State. But some of the past players there are, oh, let me just tell you about their history. They were back-to-back AIAW national champions. In 1979, they beat Louisiana Tech 75-65. They had an All-American that some of you may know as Lady Magic, Nancy Lieberman. Nancy also won the Wade Trophy that year. The following year, in 1980, Old Dominion defeated Tennessee for the national championship again, and they had 2 All-Americans. Not only did they have Nancy Lieberman, they had a 6'5" player from Denmark named Inge Nissen. And they also had a freshman, a 6'8" freshman, Ann Donovan. Then in 1985, they won their first NCAA title. They beat Georgia 70-65, and their All-American then was Medina Dixon. In 1997, they were in the championship game. However, they lost to Tennessee. But in that squad, they had 2 All-Americans, Tisha Penicheiro, their point guard from Portugal, and a player from Mozambique named Clarice Mashangwana. And we used to call her Mosh. She was on the Sparks. A very, very nice person. And Tisha went on to have a storied career in the WNBA. And Tisha was a 2-time All-American. In 1998, Tisha won the Wade Trophy. She was the second Old Dominion player to win the Wade Trophy, but the first international player to win the Wade Trophy. In 2005, Tisha was on the Sacramento Monarchs, yay, hometown, and they won the WNBA title. In 2019, she was inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. I think recently she was voted as a top 20 WNBA player. At Old Dominion, Tisha, obviously, she was first in steals career for that program, second in assists. And then backtracking a little, of course, to their first well-known player, Nancy Lieberman. Lieberman was a skinny little kid from Far Rockaway, New York, when she made the 1976 Olympic team that won the silver medal in Montreal. That was the first women's Olympic team in the Olympics. Nancy was a three-time All-American, 78, 79, 80. She was a two-time winner of the Wade Trophy. She won it in 79 and 80. And at Old Dominion, she is first in assists, third in scoring and rebounding. In 1996, Nancy was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame, and she was escorted to the podium by Ann Donovan. And I saved Ann Donovan for last. Ann was a very good friend of mine, and unfortunately, she did pass away in 2018 at the tender age of 56, gone too soon. But Ann was a 6'8" player who really sort of redefined the game of women's basketball. She served as a mentor to many, many kids, especially tall girls, you know, who sort of, I think they didn't realize that being tall was a great thing for them in the game of basketball. She did it with grace and style. She was a three-time All-American. In 1983, Ann won the first Naismith Player of the Year for women. At Old Dominion, and it's no surprise, Ann still is the program leader in scoring, rebounding, and block shots. She won 2 gold medals as a player, 1984 and 1988 on the US Olympic team. And then she was the coach of the 2008 US Olympic team, where they won the gold medal in Beijing. In 1995, Ann then was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. In 2004, among her stops in the WNBA, Ann was the coach for the Seattle Storm, and they won the franchise's first WNBA championship. And at that time, Ann was the first female coach in the WNBA to win a title. And she was also the youngest. She was 42 when they won that title. And, you know, I think our game owes a lot to Ann Donovan, and, you know, rest in peace. And that's just 3 of the many storied players that came out of Old Dominion. And like I said, now they're going to be led by Delisha Milton-Jones. And Dee Nasty, if you're on this phone call, I know you're going to do great. Good luck. And thank you for your attention.
Colleen, thank you so much. I probably speak for everyone when I say just how thankful I am. And, you know, just mentioning the history and the names, it really helps to connect the dots back to these story programs. And man, thank you so much for coming on each week and really
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Sharing. Just awesome.
Just remember, everyone, embrace the past as you go into the future. And actually, there's a quote I want to read you that the late Congressman John Lewis, one of his quotes was, "You must be a headlight instead of a tail light. You must lead." So wherever your program takes you now, you must be a leader.
Outstanding. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, and then Coach Carr, I'm going to introduce you and then unmute. Here we go. And if you have a question, anybody, just go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll unmute you so you can ask it. Okay. Okay, now Coach Carr should be able to unmute. Okay, there we go. Okay, now let me give you a little intro, Coach. Coach Carr, if anybody on here doesn't know, dominated the Missouri Valley Conference for Southern Illinois Salukis in 94-95. He was drafted in the NBA by the Phoenix Suns, had almost a decade-long NBA career. And then in 1997, he was runner-up to an unknown rookie for the Lakers named Kobe Bryant in the dunk contest. But following his extensive playing career, I was really pleased to hear this. Coach, you founded 43 Hoops in Hopkins, Minnesota for youth basketball skill development. Unbelievable. Coach Carr went on to coach both elite boys and girls AAU teams. He then spent 5 seasons at Eden Prairie High School. Then after a couple of deep runs in the state tournament, Coach Carr accepted a position on Coach Mitty's staff at Kansas State. And Coach Mitty's very lucky to have this coach, Coach Christopher Carr for Kansas State. Thank you so much for coming on today.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Man, this is pretty elite level group of people. Got a lot of people that have mentored me throughout the course of my coaching career. I got to first hear Coach Neighbor speak at the Final Four a few years ago when he was on the court. He had a player that could play just a little bit that he had going through shooting drills. So that was fun to see. That was the first time I got to meet him. I don't think he probably remembers that. Other than he just says, "Damn, son, you're really tall." Then Coach Purcell, which he's always good to give me a hard time whenever I see him out on the road recruiting. So what's up, Coach Sam? And wanted to say thank you to a couple people first for helping me with this whole thing before we get started. Obviously, our film coordinator, Stacy Gregorio, she helped organize a lot of this, along with Coach Halliburton. And, of course, Matt, thank you so much for coming up with the idea. And Shayla, one of our managers, also helped me out quite a bit. So I'm appreciative of all of that. And, Matt, are we ready to go? Let's get started.
Let's do it. Let me share and get this going.
All right. So our topic tonight, we're going to talk about a little bit. And before we get going, I know right now that Coach Neighbors is going to cringe at a few of these highlights or a couple of these clips because he is a pretty basketball analytics guy. He's kind of really taken the game to another level with that approach, with the use of the three-point shot and things of that nature. So I'm not an anti-analytic guy. Let me just start off by saying that. However, being from the era that I'm from in basketball, I am definitely a proponent of getting the best shot for your particular player at any point in time. So that is my philosophy. That may not be everybody's philosophy, but that's just kind of how I feel. And, I'm also thankful to Coach Mitty and, having Coach Osterman here as well, that I get the opportunity to do the work that I do on the court with the players, because I have a coach that allows me and kind of gives me free reign to do whatever and doesn't get in my way, and he gives me the freedom and luxury to just, all he says is, hey, make them better. And so I really appreciate that, and it's really good for me because I love to have that freedom to be able to experiment and do different things. So 3-level scoring, I think that's a critical part of the game of basketball. I definitely like the idea of close twos. I definitely like the idea of open quality three-point shooting. And I'm still a proponent of the mid-range game, just due to the fact that I do believe that there's an area in there for certain players. I did some extensive research on that during the COVID-19 pandemic and got an opportunity to speak with some of my former colleagues in the NBA and some guys that I even played against, and guys that I've used to mentor me throughout this process. And everybody's theme is very similar when it comes to the use of analytics and the use of scoring in today's game. If you have people that can shoot the three, let them shoot it. If you have people that can get to the rim and get close twos, let them do it. But there's also going to be a rare group of people that have the ability to create their own shot and get in the middle of the paint, get in the heart of the paint, and get to 15 feet and make their shots. So today we're going to go over each and every way of how you can get to those spots on the court, utilizing your pivots and footwork and things of that nature. All right. Obviously, 3-level scoring must-have: athletic position, balance, keep your hands free. And we'll talk about that a little bit more whenever we start talking about utilizing screen situations. I learned very young in my career, if you use your hands a lot whenever you're trying to come off screens, it gives the defenders more things to grab. And so we'll talk about that more. Obviously, recognition of situations is critical. Part of that is going to be having patience and having a good tempo that you play with, and just more of a mental tempo than anything. And ultimately having a creative mind. And that's the one thing that I know a lot of the high level coaches on this call, Coach Purcell, Coach Neighbors, you guys have coached a ton of people that had the ability to create shots that other people just simply can't do. And you probably couldn't teach them how to do it. And so you're just like, man, go ahead and do your thing. So I think that those things are very, very important. Now, from a coaching perspective, as assistant coaches, as we support our head coaches, there are certain things that we have to do, and there are certain things that we can't do. The things on the left that are really, really important: encourage, explain, teach the why. And I'm a really big proponent of that, is helping kids understand this is why we do things, and this is how we get to this conclusion. And then really encourage them to display a great mind in execution, and then ultimately repeat it. And those are the things that you want to kind of do whenever you have a good result. Let's repeat it. Let's do it as many times as possible. And on the other side of it is the don'ts. In today's game, negativity is really hard. So I really encourage all you coaches out there, try to be constructive when coaching, because at some point, negative, it just falls on deaf ears. One thing that I've really picked up as I've done things over the years is don't coach angry. I think that you can coach with intensity without being angry, and because angry instills fear, which is again going to result in a negative result. Coaching unintentional basketball, I think, is something that's not very well received either. Again, that goes back to the coaching the why of why we do things. I think that that's very, very important. And last but not least, really be encouraging versus discouraging, because the more times that you say can't, that's the more times that it builds into a defeated mind. And I think that those things are important. As from an assistant coach, as you support the head coach, try to instill these things into your dialogue whenever you're talking with the players. Try to help them get through. Hopefully that'll smooth out the rough patches and allow the really good stretches to go much longer. All right, so here are the 4 things that we're going to go over and in this order, and I think it's going to be good. We're going to work on finishing at the basket with Euro step, inside hand finish, and same foot, same hand finishes. All right, so first here, as we're going here, we just start really simple. Just start at the beginning of the basket, right at the edge of the logo. And one thing that's important, really teaching kids, it's a good warm up after you've done a ball handling session to get the kids' juices going, getting ready for a workout. You can work on all of these type of things, helping them work on finishing different ways and different varieties, being able to avoid charges. The one thing that's a really popular and common move now is a Euro step, going to the basket. Really trying to work on utilizing angles to avoid charges, to get the foul as you're incorporating close finish twos into your offense and into your offensive approach. Notice the guys are really, really working on here, being able to pound that dribble on that last step and then get a good solid 1-2 as they go to finish at the rim. And so now we take a little bit further step back, we add a second dribble to it, and now the length of the ability to finish at the rim are critical. Now you got a defender that's stepping above the charge circle to try to meet you and get their defensive position established. And what you want to be able to do is, whenever you're working on Euro steps, working on the same hand finish or inside hand finish, is with that first step, you want to kind of shorten it really to make that defender commit to really trying to cut you off and jump. And then you want to lengthen that second step as you're trying to stretch to the basket and really try to take up space. And that also allows you, as you're stepping around that defender, if you do get hit, that long step will also allow you to get on balance and be able to finish. If you're the coach that's standing underneath there while you're teaching this, you can use kind of a pad to help kind of divert them on their path, to help them learn how to get that contact, get through the contact, get to their long step and finish. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about how to utilize screens, which everything that we're going to go over in this next segment is very important to note, as there are people on here that utilize the three-point shot and they really work on spreading the floor and stretching the floor. These same principles and stuff that you're working on apply out beyond the three-point line as well. In this demonstration, it's going to be all mid-range stuff, but it does apply as you get out on the floor. And this is where I'm talking about the utilization of getting your hands free versus using your hands to get open, get offensive fouls and things of that nature. So here we go. We'll take a look at it. So the first thing right here, athletic position, you're down in a stance. You notice that where a lot of people want to teach, really take a lot of needless steps to get open. Things are happening so fast now, and you're wanting people to get to spots really quick. When the ball's in the middle of the floor, if you're doing all that walking, that gives a defender an opportunity to wedge your body and fight through the screen with you. So now it's a useless action into your offense. All right. So what I'm working on right here is short step in between the legs of the defender, utilize your shoulder and your hip to get you clear. And now that gives the screener that little bit of space that you get off of their shoulder and off of their hip to get yourself clear. So now, whenever you're receiving the ball, this is the next thing. Catching an athletic position, having the ability to read where the defender is closing out at. Are they on your low side? Are they on your high side? And now this is where playing slow and playing intentional are critical, because if they tight lock and trail you and you're catching the ball, you can, especially at the three-point line, you can use like what I call as a swing step. Whenever you come off the screen, you can catch, you can slow square up, long step, and you get a clean look at the basket off of a front pivot. If you come off of this and they shoot the gap on the screen and they meet you on the catch after you come out, now you can catch, you can get to your inside pivot, and you can sweep through and get to your shot. So right now we're going to demonstrate with my two guys here. They're going to go through this kind of at tempo to work on footwork and work on getting clear vision to get a shot. All right, catch, inside pivot, rip through, pull up jumper. All right, so they'll do a couple reps of each one of these. Get clear, open up, get a clear look at the basket. Again, everything is always about balance and tempo, especially whenever you're running offense. Everybody's going to do something different offensively. Right there was the swing step after the catch. This also allows you to get into different ball screen actions as well. If you've got somebody passing and chasing into a ball screen, it allows you to utilize that same footwork and that same step to slow you down, give the screener an opportunity to get set as well. So now whenever people are using floppy actions or a motion offense, we're going to show you the ability to use the counter action to get off the screen to get to a shot. Again, all of this stuff can carry you to the three-point line, particularly if you have shooters that can get out there and shoot the ball. One thing I will note that I did take from Coach Neighbors, and he's not on here to hear me. Whenever I watched him do his on-court presentation at the Final Four with Kelsey Plum, the one thing that he did a phenomenal job with her doing, every time that she made a cut to get to a spot to get an open shot, the one thing that she did a phenomenal job of, her first 4 steps were hard, aggressive, and fast to get to her spot. And that allowed her to get separation from a defender, and then that gave her the ability to now slow herself down, play it whatever tempo she wanted to draw fouls, to catch the ball on a tight curl, to flare it. But everything she did was so aggressive. And that was one thing that I tried to incorporate into my skill development stuff when I came back to Kansas State after watching them. I was like, first 4 steps as hard as you can, and then make your read from there. But get off of that contact first and then get to your spot. So now we're going to demonstrate here. We got a defender fighting on the top side. They're cheating this pin down screen, but you also know you got to a double action coming on the backside of it that the defender can't see. So what you want to do, take that short step again, get off of that contact, get out to the weak side of the floor as quick as you can, and get into your shot. Again, on balance, athletic position, short, quick step, they bite on it, swim, get off that contact. Remember, keep your hands free so you can get to your spot. And more importantly, that gives them less things to grab. And so those are a couple things to keep in mind as you're working with your kids whenever they're working on coming off of these different types of screening actions. Keep your hands free. Don't grab, don't clinch, all right? So here we go. We got the guys here on the baseline. Gets them out of the way, sprints off, come into a curl, right into a jump shot. And again, always make sure that you set yourself, get off of that contact, get to your spot, catch it, shoot it, or catch it, get into your ball screen, whatever you want to do. All right, those are just a couple of different ways to get off of that stuff. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about, having the ability to counter move after you catch the ball or to get separation to get a shot. Some of the stuff that you're going to see will be moves that you can use in a late clock situation. Some of the moves you'll be able to see on this breakdown are things that you probably work with your players on now. Couple things to keep in mind whenever you're going over this stuff. Under normal circumstances, we would have a springtime, that would be phase 1, a summertime, which is going to be your 6 or 8 weeks, which would be phase 2, and then your fall, as you're preparing for your season, is kind of phase 3. So some of the stuff that we were going to start off with as you're getting your team back in after their break, after the NCAA tournament. Phase 1, let's kind of address some of the footwork and fundamental stuff that may have put you in some bad spots, whether it's your tempo, whether it's you getting ahead of yourself, coming off screens, whether you're wanting to rush instead of thinking about be quick but don't hurry. Girls that might have the ability to create their own shot, but they travel because they get too excited. I kind of look at that as phase 1, like putting the building blocks in place. Now, when you get to the summertime, phase 2, now that you've got that fundamental base set, now you can start to add layers to what you're doing and start to, file things into your usage to where when you get in situations, I can go to the file cabinet in my brain, I can pull this file out. Now I've got more things to my game. So now we're going to talk about the step back jump shot. One thing to keep in mind as you're talking about step back jump shot, a lot of things that have to do with this whenever you're talking about this that people don't emphasize, that last dribble that you're taking, your foot should be hitting the ground at about the same time as the ball, because if a defender stays with you on the move, let's say you get separation, you'll be able to counter it with either dribble or you'll be able to counter it with a shot fake, which is what we'll go over next. But that's a couple things to keep in mind as you're teaching this. Again, obviously athletic position, good solid base, making sure that whenever you are teaching this move, really emphasize a 45-degree angle whenever you're getting this step back. So you're wanting to attack a defender's hip to get them to open up their feet. And then when you put that ball on the deck and you get that push, they're playing your first move and you're already pushing back to get separation to get a clean window at the rim. So we're going to go over that now here. Dribble, push back, all right? And get into your shot pocket and get into your shot quick. Also make sure you note to pull that ball away from the defender in case they do stay with you and they're a slap down person. You want to give them the ability. So right here, we're going to work on breaking this move down. And this is a good way to, again, warm up after you've done some ball handling. Just work on a good, solid, fundamental base. Just have them, hey, one dribble, step back, get the ball into your shot pocket and freeze. Just to make sure that you can give them a sense of checks and balances, like freeze yourself to make sure that you're on balance, you're not leaning, you're not falling over, you're getting your feet, your hips, and your shoulders square to the basket after you make the move. All right, and here it is going the other way as well. Remember, notice every time these guys dribble, that foot is on the ground, boom, and then they push, and then they land and they're able to get into their shot. Okay, so Next, we'll be able to get into the move here. Now we're going to do it live and actually get into a shot. And it's important, if you're seeing them shoot short, hey, you're fading away. So you got to make sure that whenever you push, you get both feet underneath you and get on balance so you can make a shot. Also, if you're a defender and you're playing token defense, make sure you put one foot up to make the person that you're working with, making sure that they understand, I'm attacking your top foot to get you to open up your hips, which is what we always talk about. But we want that step and that dribble to be really, really aggressive, because you want to really be able to generate some good energy to get separation away from them to get into your shot. And also, last but not least, whenever you're in athletic position, making sure you're getting your hips underneath you to get into your shot, to get on balance, so you're not drifting and you're not fading away. All right, and then lastly here, we're going to work on, after you make the move, having the ability to counter, all right, and step through and get a shot. That one was a bad one, but he still made it. But here you go, step through. Now notice he's able to pivot and get to his runner, step through into a floater. You can shot fake it and draw contact here, push away, get that defender flying by, step through, step past him, get a clean window at the basket. That's something that you would use in a late shot clock situation. Or if you know a team's in foul trouble, having the ability to use that move to get a defender lifted, get into their body, get to the free throw line, and that allows you to, again, get more points at the basket. That feeds into the analytics of points per possession. All right, now this portion of what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about some post play stuff. And with the way that the game is going, and it's amazing to me, because in the women's game in particular, we have probably more big players now than what we've ever had before in the women's game, both at the collegiate level and the professional level. Yet the utilization of post play is down. I know from 2 years ago WNBA season to last year's WNBA season, post play usage was down about 12%. And that's in a league where you have Liz Cambage, Brittany Griner, and Aja Wilson. That's absolutely amazing to me. But the anomaly to that are people like Elena Deladon and Brianna Stewart. They have the ability to get away from the basket and do things differently. So I still think that it's important. And ironically enough, whenever Elena Deladon wants to go to get a basket, she's going to go to the left block, and she's going to turn over her left shoulder and shoot a fadeaway jump shot, or she's going to turn baseline and do her step through and get to the basket. So that does come into play. So right now we're going to talk a little bit about post play and understanding how to work with our post players in today's game. So here's what we got. First thing we're going to work on, and this is just a good warm up, and you can do this with your guards as well as you're warming up for your practice, just to work on getting them a feel for close finishes to the basket, working on their footwork, working on how to understand how to turn and shoot over both shoulders. Right here, we got the guys come, catch, quick turn right into a turnaround jump shot over their left shoulder. Notice every time they come to post up, they're breaking down, similar to a closeout in a defensive situation, all right? That it gives them the ability to catch the ball and use either foot as a pivot foot, depending on where the defense is at. It gives them the ability to get separation into a turnaround jump shot and utilizing the ball as momentum to give them the ability to get away from a defender and get a clean look at the basket. So now the next thing we're about to go through now is a drop step series here on this side of the floor. So catch. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go into jump hooks now. Now, same usage as we talked about in the other segment. When that ball hits the ground, the foot hits the ground, a lot of times post players want to get happy feet, particularly young post players, and they want to hop whenever they catch that ball. This is a good way to kind of teach them, hey, get in an athletic position. You can't move a foot until that ball hits the ground. So step with your inside foot, pound that dribble, get to your space, get elevation, get into your jump hook. Now this next portion of it is going to be the same thing, but now we're going to utilize that same step and dribble to work on our drop step and get back to the basket. And it's important, again, to teach that's not a very good move. And I told him about that. That was really bad. That's illegal in every country all over the world. All right. So, make sure that whenever you're stepping into your move, step and get contact with that defender, get them leaning to cut you off from your jump hook, you counter it with your drop step move. All right. Now we're gonna go to the counters to these things. So now we're putting in the building blocks of what we're wanting to work on. Remember, one move always feeds the other. So now we're going to work on power dribble them to the middle, quick rocker step baseline like we're going into our drop step, and then we're going to come back to the middle for a quick turnaround jump shot. All right. Again, these are all great moves for both guards and bigs to get a feel. A lot of times if guards drive it and they get stuck in the paint or they get stuck close to the basket, they need to have a feel and a sense for what they're going to do whenever they get there. Okay, so this is one way that you can emphasize that with your work, with your pre-practice work, along with any of your skill development stuff that you're doing. Now we're going to take a look at doing stuff facing the basket. So this first thing we're going to look at, inside pivot into a jump stop into a jump hook. Okay, so the first thing, make sure you check to the inside of the court here. Whenever you check, chin always comes to your inside shoulder, and that gives you a sense of where the help defenses is at, one, and two, it also lets you know where your defender is at. Typically at this type of movement, you're getting pushed off the lane line some, and notice they're catching at about 12 or 14 foot area. Getting pushed off the lane line, catch the basketball. You've checked see where the help defense is at, and now that allows you to go into that move, use that inside pivot, power dribble, jump stop, load up, get up in there and shoot it. Now we're going to utilize the same move going to the baseline side of the court. Get to that basket quick. Again, emphasize foot hits the ground, ball hits the ground, so you make sure you don't get travels. All right, it's important to keep emphasizing to your players, you don't do us any good if we're getting turnovers. Okay, so constantly talking about that all the time. Slow down, be quick, don't hurry, be patient, catch the ball first, survey the defense, get a feel for where they're at on your hips, and then handle it accordingly. All right, now we're going to utilize our front pivot here. So we want to catch, survey, front pivot, hard rip through, get to your jump shot, or you can get to the basket and finish. All right, so get pushed out, front pivot, rip it right across their face, one dribble, and attack them. Okay, again, these moves can be used for guards as well on the perimeter as you move them further away from the basket. If they're catching the ball anywhere on the perimeter, all of these things. They sprint off a staggered double screen, sprint off a floppy action, catch on the perimeter, defenders chasing them, catch, front pivot, that defender jumps to the inside, rip that sucker low, and attack that foot and get to the basket and finish. All right, now we're going to work on front pivot. Get to your spot, all right? We're going to rip it through, and we're going to get back to the middle of the paint. And so make sure, again, notice how I stepped across the defender's body whenever on that rip through. So square up, rip through, pound dribble, absorb the contact, get to your spot on the floor, and finish it. All right, so it's important. Those players get pushed off of the block some. They don't have to be a fish out of water. They can be effective and still put heat on the interior of the defense just by using patience, utilizing their footwork, and using their pivots as a move. I think that's something that I really try to emphasize is use your pivot as a move, because whenever I move and square up to the basket, the defender has to adjust. Once they've adjusted, then that gives me my move. That gives me my tell on what I get to do next and disadvantage the defender. All right, and now as you build this in, You know, you get a chance to work with your players on being creative now. Notice the guy that just shot the little Dirk Nowitzki fadeaway there off of 1 foot. You can utilize that whenever you attack that and draw contact from that defender, bump them off of you, and then you can get into your shot and get a clean look at the basket, potentially draw a foul. And then lastly, here come the counters to the moves that we just worked on off of our pivot actions there. Rip it through. They cut you off, come back to your drop step, get to the backboard, and finish. All right, remember, patience, square them, rip them, get them moving, spin off of their contact, get back to the rim, and finish. I remember emphasizing, ball hits the floor when the foot hits the floor, okay? So you want to make sure that it's a little bit like dance class. You kind of got to walk them through it. Rip it, pound it, get to their body, spin off of them, get a clean look at the basket, and finish it. Boom, spin back, turn around, jump shot. And then you can also go to your up and under, which that was a very, very bad attempt at an up and under. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. If you guys have questions, I will be more than happy to answer them. If you guys got any questions for me in terms of anything that we do, I mean, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. I always enjoy talking basketball, any opportunity I get, so I really enjoy it. So any questions?
And I'll just go ahead and say everyone should be muted. So just put in the chat if you have a question, and then I can unmute you so you can ask Coach Carr a question. And I didn't mention this before, but Coach has been very gracious in allowing us to record this. So I can send you a link to this after the fact. Coach has also talked about sending his presentation out as well, if people would like that. I know I got a quick question, Coach.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to jump in front of anybody else, but at what point do you add a live defender in your sequence?
I think that after you've gotten an opportunity to build a base for what you're doing, first you got to do it with no defense. Then you get a chance to do it with token defense, like a coach with a pad, giving them a feel for what they're going to feel, where they're going to feel it at, how they're going to feel it. And then you get an opportunity as you get through your workouts to start incorporating. And it's an opportunity to work on both things. It's an opportunity to work on your defensive stuff. Like, you know, everybody's going to play against someone that runs off of a stagger double screen or runs off of screening actions. You know, everybody's going to play against somebody that's going to catch on the block. And how do we do that? So I think that it's important to add that as you go along. But in phase one, as I discussed earlier, probably not so much. That's kind of the building blocks phase. As you get into the summer and you're starting to get acclimated, probably after the first 2 weeks of workouts in the summertime is when we'll look to add defense to drills and get more live action, because some of those times are going to be used for team stuff as well. But probably after the first 2 weeks in the summer, and then subsequently as we go forward, and then in the fall, you really get a chance to be a lot more competitive because now they're all playing for playing time.
Gotcha. Coach Neighbors has a question here if he's unmuted.
Yeah, I think, am I unmuted there?
Yeah, you're good.
Coach, any tips that you find successful in reducing slippage in percentages from makes in practice to makes in games? Any thoughts you plant in a kid's head? Anything you do drill wise that can help a kid that shoots it really good in practice and that can't always take it to the game?
Yeah, you know, I have a daughter that does that, so I can help you out on that a little bit. One thing that I did as a player, and then now, unfortunately, I've built my kids to have obsessive compulsive mentality when it comes to shooting is they take a high volume of shots whenever they're getting their rhythm. So like think about Kelsey Plum, for example. I mean, how many shots did she take outside of practice? Like an inordinate amount, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And there are some people that can do that and they can apply it. But then when they get to games, because their touch rate isn't as high, they lose mental focus, they lose awareness. And then, so therefore, they don't get rhythm shots. So what I've done with some of our kids and even my own kids, ironically enough, is I try to find a workout that we can do that's concise, that has all the building blocks and principles to what you're going to need to do to get your absolute rhythm and focus for the game, that allows them to trigger that mental focus and that mental awareness. And it's something short and it's something simple, but yet it allows them to start the game in that type of mindset mentality, like, I got to make shots right now. And, you know, and another thing that I do with our girls in practice, I'm constantly emphasizing, make yourself make every shot. Don't allow yourself the ability to miss and be okay with it. Really, really put the pressure on yourself to make every shot, because the more you can train your mind to do that, and it worked for me, and me being a guy that came off the bench and I was constantly going to get judged, unfortunately, off of my positive or negative results on a game. I knew that I didn't have the luxury. I wasn't going to get 4 or 5 shots to kind of get loose and get in the flow of the game. I'd have a mental mindset. What's my first shot going to be? Where's it going to come from? How am I going to get this shot? You know, and so I had the mental awareness and mindset and focus that, okay, my first shot is going to come from my kill zone. I got to get to one of the elbows, and I got to be able to catch and slow myself down and either get a jab step, or I got to come off of a tight screen and get to an elbow to get my shot. And that's another thing that's really important to emphasize to players. Are you taking a shot, or are you taking your shot? You know, we played you guys last year, and the one thing that we wanted to try to do, and it worked for about 65% of the game, was keep Dungy from continually getting to her left hand. That really gives her rhythm whenever she gets going, and then that allowed her to continue. And we were successful a little bit, and then she got going in the third quarter and got us. But that's one thing that, as players, you know, you always want to try to give them the ability to, why don't we let me find a way to get you your shot, so then you're focused, you're engaged, and you can continue with your rhythm. So it's little bitty points like that, and little bitty points of connectivity that allow you to further enhance what your players can do.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Right now's the time. You can throw it in the chat, and I can unmute you. But this was great, Coach. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
Yeah,
really
Coach Halliburton had a question.
Does she have a question? Let's see. Where's she at? Here we go.
You know, Coach, I know that playing in the NBA, been in a dunk contest, and just being a great skill instructor, how do you not get labeled, you know, as you'll be a great head coach one day, but how do you not get labeled as just a skill development guy? Because I know a lot of people will look at you as just that guy that can just always stay in the gym, but, you know, working with you for 3 years, you know, how can you work on that image as to people not to look at you as just that guy?
Great question. The one thing that I've as I continue to stay on the path of wanting to be a head coach, and surrounding myself with as many people as possible that can make me a better coach. One of my good friends and former college teammates, Chris Lowry, he coaches on the men's side here at Kansas State. He told me a long time ago, always continue to work on developing you. It doesn't matter what role you're in. Are you complacent in where you're at? Or are you wanting to push to be to the next level? So some of the things that I do, you're working for. We work for Coach Mitty, and he's great to work for. But I never stop developing my own offensive and defensive philosophy, my own outlook on the game, my own approach to the game, because I feel like that's extremely important in terms of, if I get an opportunity to be a head coach, which God willing I will soon, you don't want to ever go to some place that's different than K-State, and then the first thing they ask you, what are you going to do offensively? And you look at them, you're like, I'm just going to do what we did at K-State. Well, yeah, but if you don't have a 6'6" center and 3 girls that can shoot the basketball, then what do you do? You know? So I think it's important to catalog the things that you like and make them your own. You know, take time, put it on paper, put your offensive and defensive philosophy on paper, put your recruiting philosophy on paper, put your culture philosophy on paper, type it out, look at it, review it, refresh it, keep it, because you're constantly evolving as a coach. You know, I've learned so much as I've gotten the opportunity to not only be here at Kansas State with Coach Mitty, but the preparation for coaching against an Arkansas, coaching against a Stanford, our first year here. You know, having the ability to prepare for different coaches, you get an opportunity to see truly their mind for basketball. And so I try to take something from every single team and coach that I prepare for and coach against and say, oh, I like that. Oh, I can use that against them because we'll do this to counter that. And I always try to prepare whenever I'm doing scout preparation. I try to prepare as if I'm the head coach and I'm going to play against them. Then I'm going to step on the sideline against them because A, I'm just a weird competitive person that way. And B, I think it's important to try to be in the mind of that person because they're across the sideline and they're thinking about, how am I going to beat the snot out of you? You know? And so I think those things are important, and it gives you a different level of focus. Also gives you a different level of adrenaline whenever you're doing those type of things, because I know for me it does. I used to love the calm before the storm before I played. I love sitting in the locker room in that quiet calm of being able to sit and take about 4 or 5 deep breaths before I put on my uniform, because I knew that whenever I walked out on the court, I was going to have 48 minutes of a fight with somebody that was going to be great. And that used to really give me a real charge. I don't play anymore. So, but I still have that same competitive spirit and competitive fire. And so now I get a very similar approach and a similar feeling from that as I'm preparing to help Coach Mitty prepare to coach against the people that we do. And so that's how you continue, all of us as assistant coaches, keep pursuing your craft, keep working to be the best you can possibly be, keep working to be better than what you are, and constantly in evolution mode.
That's awesome. Helen Tao, I think, has a question. If you're unmuted, Helen, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach Carr. This has been really, really great. Question in regards to like teaching kids balance. Like you mentioned it a lot. And then also like with, I guess, our players these days, like a lot of times they don't think that they're off balance, even though we see them. So what type of verbiage, what type of terminology, like how do you get them to realize or just be on balance rather than just saying like, you need to be on balance? How do you kind of like go through the process with them of controlling their body and being on balance?
Yes, that's a great question. And I think it's a multifaceted thing, because I do believe that some of that comes from working with your strength and conditioning coach. I think that there's an element of that has to go into that when they're working on their agility work, when they're working in the weight room. But then it has to transfer to the court. So one of the things that I will do quite a bit whenever we're in drills, particularly when we're doing stationary ball handling, for example, I will just walk by and just tap them on the shoulder or lean against them. It's one thing to do ball handling, stationary, everybody, 50-pound dribbles, and 50 crossovers. And it's one thing to do that. but it's a whole different element when you have somebody standing next to you and now they bump you and you lose the ball. So you're not ball strong. And so a couple things that I do both in stationary and in movement ball handling is working on always telling them to load their legs. Be more like an alligator, less like a giraffe. Okay, so an alligator drags his butt all over the place and a giraffe has his butt high up in the air. So that's an analogy that I've used, and I used to use that with my little kids at basketball camp, and it's just kind of stuck with me. Other things whenever you're working on like shot balance and shot structure, take a little bit of time every day to just work on being very, very simple. Put them at the free throw line. I just want you to work on taking one hard dribble forward, and I want you to take a left, right, and explode up into your shot. And repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And then now stand next to them and say, now I want you to do the same thing, and I'm going to be right here in you. And you just touch them with maybe 5% of pressure, just bumping their body, and then they'll fly out of the thing. Okay, you have to load your legs so you can take this bump. And then as you continually progress through the drill work that you do with them, you'll be able to emphasize that. And the more you talk about it and the more you show them, they will naturally gravitate into being able to do it better.
All right, Colleen Matsuhara, you have a question for Coach?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Chris, for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. And I have a question for you. I know you mentioned that, your goal someday is to be a head coach. So let's say you went for an interview. What would you say today are your top 3 strengths as a head coach? How would you start?
Okay, I would say first my ability to communicate would be probably my biggest strength. I'd say my second biggest strength, my ability to teach the game of basketball. And then most importantly, my third biggest strength is probably my character.
Okay, good answers, good answer. And I have one more question about your drill work. When you're doing drills for individual skill work for shooting, getting off catch and shoot or whatever,
yes, ma'am.
Do you emphasize speed over accuracy? In other words, do you want them to right away start getting off a quick shot, or you want them to work on really their form, accuracy?
In my opinion, it's a collective build, because it does no good to shoot fast if you miss it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we try to do whenever we're working with kids on their shot in particular, we'll do a drill called a chair drill, where we'll put the chair about 5 to 7 feet from the basket, and we just work on getting the ball in our shot pocket, and we bend and touch the ball to the seat of the chair and work on getting from the seat of the chair to our shot pocket and elevating off the floor and shooting the ball. So what that's doing is that's training the girls, get their butt low, ball goes down, everything goes down. You don't just dip the ball and touch the ball to the chair and stand straight-legged. We actually have to bend, touch, up, let it go. And so from there, we will go into doing that off of catch the ball with our left foot forward, right foot back if we're a right-handed shooter, right foot forward, left foot back for left-handed shooter. And we'll literally do a drill where I will pass them the ball and we talk through it. Catch, step, elevate, shoot. Catch, step, elevate, shoot. Just to work on the building blocks of their shot so they're not rushing through it. It's a checkpoint. And as you repetitively do that, it kind of smooths itself out whenever you say, okay, we're going to catch and shoot here. I want you to start at the top of the key. I'm going to throw you the ball, and I want you to step into your shot and shoot it. Well, naturally, they will smooth all of those things out, and their rhythm will be much, much better.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Jason Pruitt, let me unmute you here. Get your question for Coach. There we go.
Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Hey, great presentation tonight on individual. I believe in all those moves because I like to score the basketball.
I like it.
So I got a question for you. And so I'm on the West Coast. I'm the head coach of a Division III school going into my 4th year. When I'm looking in your conference, I don't see a lot of coaches of color. So how discouraging can that be to coaches of color that want to move up when you're looking in the arenas that you go in every night and there's no head coaches that look like you? And then the second part to that question is, do you feel that when a coach of color gets a job, they have to be 10 times better than the person that does not look like them in order to ensure future success for them and people coming along behind them?
Great questions. I will answer the first one first. It is. I won't say it's discouraging necessarily because I'm blessed to be where I am, and I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to be at a Power 5 school, and this is my first job, and so I'm extremely blessed and thankful. I do, however, have a heightened sense of understanding of who I am and where I am, and that is the part that I'm working to be better. I think all of us as coaches, we constantly have to be in work mode, and it doesn't matter. I mean, we are all fighting an uphill battle. I mean, we are men coaching women's basketball. There are some that are in favor of that. There are some that aren't. As men of color, as women of color, it's different. And I think that as we go through these perils of life, I do feel that it's important that we constantly strive to do our job to the best of our ability at a very, very high level, because ultimately that's what you're going to get noticed for. I mean, you've already exceeded the odds. You're already a head coach. And so congrats on that, and continue to do the best that you can in your space. Now, the second part of that question, my mom always brought me up and just told me, she's like, you got to work harder to be better. And that was something that she emphasized in me, being the only family of color in a town in Southeast Missouri. And we're getting crosses burned in our front yard and windows shot out of our home. And she always the number one thing she emphasized to me when I was 5 years old, son, I don't want you to live this life. I want you to work harder to be better. And I didn't really know and understand what that meant until I've gotten on the side of getting away from the NBA and being in corporate America and owning my own business and having to try to go get a small business loan. Well, we can't do that. But then somebody else that I know that's not of color goes in and opens the same exact business at the same exact time I do, and they get financed. So those are all great things for me to remember, but also know that be the best you can be in the space that you can be, and because you appreciate the victories a lot more, and you relish them a lot more, and you just understand I really had to work to be where I'm at. I hope and pray that we all get opportunities to be head coaches. But I do feel like it's a highly competitive arena that we're in. I mean, there's Gino Ariema told me 2 summers ago, he's like, hey, if you get an opportunity, man, you got to take it. He said, it's not like there's 100 schools out there that's saying, oh, we want you. He says, there's one school out there with 100 people trying to get the same job. And so, you just got to work hard and be the best you can be, and surround yourself with people that will be honest with you, and also network with people that can help you. And I'm learning to do that. I'm thankful because I have people. Mike Neighbors doesn't have to take the time to sit on the phone or sit on the thing and listen to me. Sam Purcell. I mean, these guys have coached in Final Fours and national championship games. I mean, Coach Matsuhara. I mean, that's a blessing in itself. The guys that want to sit and listen to some goofball like me talk about basketball. So I'm thankful, and all I can do is just continue to work and be who I am, and I can handle not being good enough. What I can't handle is having to look at my son or my daughter and say, if I had worked harder, I could have been better. And that's the number one thing that I've tried to instill in them. And so that's what I know.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. God bless you on your journeys, man, and have a safe trip wherever you're going to your next stop.
I'm sure we'll cross paths.
I have a question, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right. It's kind of touch on what you just said. So, like, when it's all said and done, and you're done with it for good, like, what do you want people to be like? This is what I love about Coach Carr. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want them to be like? This is like what you're gonna get out of this person. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what do you want people to, like, you know what I mean? Like, behind your back, what do you want people to be like? Yeah, this guy was this guy was that. Like, I got so much, I learned so much. Like, what do you want people to have? Like,
what do you want your legacy to be, Coach?
Yeah, like, what do you want your legacy to be?
That's a great question. I think it's twofold. I think one part of it is I want them to know that Coach Carr was the most competitive person that I've and he instilled that in me. I would want my players to say that about me, and I think that they probably would. And then the other thing I want them to say, I know Coach Carr loved me and he cared.
Yeah.
He cared about me, and that to me. And I have one of our former players on here right now, and she could maybe attest to that and maybe not. But ultimately, I think that my players, any player that's ever been around me or been a part of me, I would probably want them to say, I know he cared. And that's the number one thing I think any of us, because if a player knows that you care about them, you have impacted their life so above and beyond, and they will tell stories about the craziness and the fun and the remember this game and remember this road trip. Oh, remember when they didn't have the food for us and Coach went out and bought us chicken. Those are the things that they'll remember. The wins and losses will come and go. Those things, but the memories of how you treated them, how you connected with them, those things last a lifetime.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
And Coach, I had one more question. I see Delisha Milton-Jones on the phone, the Zoom.
Yeah.
Now, Delisha, you played at the highest level. Those moves that Coach, she's the head coach at ODU now, amazing woman. Now, those moves that Coach Carr was teaching, was he teaching the right thing, Delisha, or was it just okay?
See if I can unmute her here.
Yeah.
There we go. She should be good to jump on now.
Okay. Hi, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good.
Ebony, you just gonna put me on the spot like that? You're turning into a mini Colleen Matsahara. Oh, I love to hate her. Oh.
You got blocked 'cause you got on late.
I know. Look, don't be calling me out. I did come on late. Thanks, Colleen, for throwing me under the bus. But outside of that, hey, Coach Pruitt, nice to see you on the West Coast. But I think that everything that Coach Carr was speaking of, it was spot on. It was spot on. And I had the luxury during my stint in LA of being able to be coached by Michael Cooper, Orlando Woolridge, and James Worthy. He would come into practices and he would teach us different elements, the mid-range game. So I understand the language that he's speaking because he comes from that NBA background and it's in his DNA. So it felt good hearing someone else speak and use the same terminology and techniques that I use when I teach my girls.
Thank you, Delisha.
You're welcome. You're being nice to me now?
Only on screen.
I know.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Matthew, can I just piggyback onto both Coach Carr and Delisha?
Absolutely.
Everyone, when you become the head coach, it's a totally different seat that you're taking, whether it's 18 inches away from your assistants. So you always have to surround yourself with loyal assistants because they can make or break your program for you. And I think it's important for you to really look into their character, their willingness to work, and their passion. Because if you have someone that doesn't have all those things, you're only as good as your weakest link, as they say. And secondly, what Coach Carr said, I completely agree, Coach Carr. If your players, when they leave from playing you and they know that you cared about them, off the court especially, that makes a lifelong connection, and they will forever appreciate you. In fact, they probably appreciate you more after they're done playing for you. They realize that maybe some of the hard things you made them do or perform, that it helped them become better people. So that's absolutely right about showing players that you really care.
Yes, ma'am. I think I have one of my, oh, he's getting ready to ask a question right now. I have one of my former AAU guys. He was actually one of the demonstrators in the video. He's trying to chime in and ask a question.
Here we go.
This ought to be great.
CC, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing well. So my question is, it's kind of a two-part question, but my question is for someone who is potentially transitioning into coaching, what do you think is the most important thing to focus on, even if you're not quite at the point of joining a coaching staff, but what would you focus on to best prepare you for a potential opportunity?
Okay, great question. I would say that first and foremost, you have to find the ability to make connections with people that are in the business. I would say that you probably need to work on how you present yourself to them, because coaches by nature are territorial and somewhat, if you're not in their circle, you're not in their circle. And if you're in their circle, you're in their circle. So I would say having the ability to network, find some people that are connected in the business, and get your introduction that way. So as you transition, you won't just be I just popped up on the scene type of person. You will have done things like made an attempt to attend the WBCA convention, or you go to live recruiting in July to some of the big events, and had the ability to network with some coaches and be around and get an understanding. Find you I would say a pocket of coaches that are either similarly connected would probably be the right way to put it. And hey, would you mind if I came out and spent a few days with you guys doing your workouts? Would you mind if I came out and spent a couple of days and observed practice? I'm still playing overseas, or I'm still playing professionally, but I would love to be able to get in this business as I start to transition away from playing. So I'd love to come out and watch you do what you do, and just get to know you better. I think that would probably be the way to go about it. And then the other thing is going to be, you just got to get lucky.
Right.
And second question.
The second part is, those of us that know you know that you did start off at a Power 5 school. Do you think that there is a level that is too low to start at if you're trying to climb to the highest level? And I guess what I mean by that is, obviously there's always potential for former players to coach at their high schools, or to coach at their college as a grad assistant, or the like. Do you think that some of these jobs can be a hindrance in climbing to where you want to be?
I would say no. And the reason why, I mean, you know my story. I started off, I take the Eden Prairie High School job just because Clayton Hargrove resigns in the middle of the summer. And so that's just kind of how it goes. I think that part of this process is having the ability to humble yourself and be willing to just do the work that's in front of you and that's necessary to get to where you want to get to. And everybody's path is different. Sean Sweeney. Would you have ever thought that he would be a video coordinator for a team that made it to the NBA Finals? Would you have ever guessed that him 5 or 6 years ago when he was running around the Twin Cities?
No, I wouldn't have.
That's what I'm saying. So some of it's just a matter of being able to just go do the work and be great where you are. Continue to pursue your dream and your passion, and the pendulum has to swing in your favor. And I think everybody on the screen can attest to this. You are one good thing away from being great, or you're one twisted ankle or some girl running into a scorer's table from being without a job. That's just the nature of the business that we're probably all in. And so you just got to maximize your run whenever you get an opportunity and go with it, and things will happen.
All right. So we got Steve Yang with a question. Let me unmute him here. There you go, Steve.
Hey, Matt, thanks for putting this together. Coach Carr, thank you so much for presenting. It's always great to be on a Zoom call and you recognize a lot of people in this space. So I feel like I'm on the right Zoom call, so that's a good thing. But thank you so much for this. Quick question, yes or no question. When you're working on back to the basket with your guards and so they're catching the ball, do you ever intentionally give them a bad pass and have them adjust to the pass? That's something that I've found that, not every entry pass is going to be a great one. And if so, how do you kind of work that into your workout?
Great question. I think that one of the things that I try to do as we progress through throwing post entry passes, for example, is always try to make sure that once a post player establishes position, they have to have the ability to step to get the ball, no matter where it's coming to. And I think that Delisha would probably agree with that. Part of it's on the guards, but also part of it's on the player that's receiving the ball, because that's going to give you, as a post player, the ability to establish what move you're going to use. So if we're on the left side of the floor and I'm getting the ball from the wing, you might throw a bounce pass that may not bounce, but it might come straight at my knee. I have to have the ability to step out and catch that ball and secure it on my right foot. So I'm going to use my right foot as my pivot foot. And then if the defender closes off the middle of the paint, I know that, well, that means I can inside pivot and rip through and go baseline and go finish the play. So part of that is just a training of the mind. And the other part of it is more having the ability to concentrate and adjust as things are happening throughout the course of a game. Like I said, you'd love to think that everybody's going to throw you a great pass. And in reality, a lot of times post players make guards look like they throw great passes, because all of those passes aren't great that's coming to them in the post, but they're like, I got to get this ball. This is how I make my money. And for the one time that they throw it in here, or the 6 times they shoot it, I'm going to have to go get it and go do something, go make the magic happen myself. So they're appreciative of that.
Right on. Thank you, Coach. Any other questions before we let everybody go? See if we got one. No. Guys, thank.
Delisha has a question.
Delisha's got a question. Okay, let me get her off. Here we go. There we go.
Not really a question, but to piggyback off of Coach Carr, for me, I give my post players some simple rules. If you have 2 feet in the paint, then it's just a matter of securing the ball and having balance and finishing, depending upon the feel of what a defense is. But if you're outside of the paint, I've noticed that so many of them are trying so hard to keep their balance that they throw themselves off balance. Or if they try to establish a pivot foot in their ceiling or positioning, then they're not utilizing the feel aspect of the game. And so now they're stuck and they don't know what to do with the ball. So I always tell them to bunny hop towards the pass, so that you don't establish a pivot foot. And when you land, you have a good solid base and balance. And now you can get to anything, going left or right, without establishing a direction or a side of the floor that you're able to work with. In terms of the passing, bunny hopping towards the pass, it also secures the ball. And we know how defenders can be leaning on you in the paint, and the refs don't give you the benefit of the doubt when someone's hitting your arm, you know, and making it fluctuate just a little bit, and that throws off your timing of the catch. But I also put a lot of responsibility on the bigs, and I tell them, if you touch it, you got to catch it. I don't care if it's your fingertips. That means you didn't work as hard as you could to get it. I'll handle the guards later. But I definitely teach what Coach Carr was talking about in terms of footwork. But in me evaluating a lot of players, balance is a horrible thing sometimes in the paint. So I always teach them the bunny hop as well.
Yeah, such great points. Guys, thank you so much. Coach Carr, Alicia Milton-Jones, Coach Neighbors, you guys, Colleen, thank you, everybody. Thank you for taking time. I know it's starting to be that busy time, and I know you all had to work hard to create a little fence around this time. Thank you for being here and for learning. Appreciate it. Coach Carr, awesome job. Really appreciate you being on. And like I put my email address in the chat. Feel free to reach out if you want a link to the recording of this session. All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we'll catch you next week. We've got another really good speaker. I don't want to steal any thunder, but another really good one. So hopefully y'all be back on.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you.
Alicia Milton-Jones.
What do you want, lady?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so busy. I'm tired, but I'm good.
Is your team working out?
No. I actually put them on a soft quarantine because they didn't make some good decisions one weekend. But no one has the virus or anything. It's just to prove a point, hone the point of safety. But then once that quarantine ended, the president put the entire athletic department on a 2-week hiatus.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because he just wanted to give them a chance to just get acclimated back into school. All the regular student body was entering back on campus. So he just was like, let's just play it safe. Let's give them a moment of reprieve. They can get their lives in order. There's been a lot going on. So it's been good. They've been anxious to get back in the gym. So we'll probably start this up on Friday.
Yeah. Now, are you meeting in person for classes? Or is it online?
There are some face-to-face, like the labs and stuff, you kind of have to be there for that.
Right.
And maybe some of your science or mathematics classes, yeah, but everything else is online.
Well, I wish you luck, and the only reason I was teasing you is because today was my Old Dominion Day, so I was.
I know. I said, of all days to be late, good gosh. But today's September 1st, you had to be on that phone.
Yeah, right. You could get the recording. Matthew recorded it. So
I hope you spoke nicely about me. I'm going to have to send you one of these in the mail.
I don't know. It was really hard. If I spoke nicely, it's because I had my fingers crossed under the table.
Only you.
I miss you on the West Coast, but good luck.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you. You need to come visit me.
I will.
And I'm not feeding you either because I know how you eat.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll
man.
see you on the call next week. Right, Ebony?
What was the question?
Ebony's still on here?
Yeah, Ebony's still on. Matthew, can you unmute Ebony?
Oh, yeah, I did. I thought.
Oh, she's still muted.
There, she's.
I didn't even know we had an audience. I'm just talking trash.
Alicia, look at this guy. He thinks.
What's up, Coach Carr?
What's up, Alicia? Thanks for getting
How
on.
are you? Say it again.
I said, thanks for getting on. I appreciate it.
Oh, no doubt. I saw my people on here. I had to come and join the party.
Hey, Delisha, he has a picture in his office dunking on Mutombo.
Oh, now that's nice.
Yeah. Did you do like this to him?
No.
But he really,
Look, But every time someone dunked on Mutombo, he probably blocked their shot 10 times too. That man was a monster. But that's a tremendous feat to have a photo like that.
Well, Chris, if you ever tried to dunk over Delisha, she would elbow you and throw you to the ground on a hard foul.
And those are facts. Yep. I'm not denying it. Yes.
Yep. Be nasty. You're gonna get it.
Yeah.
You need to stop it, Colleen. You need to stop.
You know I love you.
I know. This was so much fun. Thank you guys for inviting me. Sorry I had to get on late though.
Yeah, I'm gonna invite you next week too.
Delisha, you're always welcome. You're always welcome.
And then in 3 weeks, because after next week's we have Barack Obama, and then you can be next.
Oh my! I don't want to follow him. I'm good. No thanks. I just like being an attendee. I'm fine.
We really want you to be on.
Y'all do? What am I gonna talk about? I'm gonna talk y'all head off.
You can talk about a lot.
You got a lot of things. Heck yeah.
Seriously.
Oh.
Maybe September 22nd. Think about that Tuesday, okay?
December 22nd?
September.
She said December 22nd, 2022.
Right.
September.
Okay. September 22nd. Okay, give me a direction. And then we can go with it.
Is that okay, Matthew? You'll get a hold of it? Yeah.
Yep. We've got the next two. I've got confirmed the next two, but that 22nd's the third one. We'll think about it.
Matthew, you better ask me, because if Colleen is asking me, I'm not going to do it.
Then it's a no.
You better ask.
Oh, it's like that.
It's like that.
Well, I know you got a lot of responsibilities and things getting thrown your way. So if you don't end up having time, we're not going to hold it against you. But we'd love to have you come on and speak.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I accept your offer, and I appreciate you for understanding how crazy schedules can be. Colleen wouldn't understand. She's just a savage.
Hey, Delisha, I have a new sermon I'm working on.
Let's go.
It's called "Who Killed Jezebel."
Oh my!
It's pretty good. I
need to hear this one.
No, it's just talking about everything in your life that's come to attack and steal your purpose. How to defeat that thing.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like killing Colleen, because that's all she does is just try to destroy me.
I left you a voice message a week and a half ago, and you never returned my call.
And there's a good reason why. Look, you like put me on the spot. I'm about to go check your little stinking voicemail right now, and I'm gonna send you a message. Okay,
do that.
Hey Matt, can we just have them two as the speaker for September 22nd? I would just love to watch this sitcom the whole time for a whole hour and a half. I'll be okay.
This is nonstop when we see each other. It's nonstop.
Hot seat.
Yeah, Matthew's been with me when we went to go watch Pepperdine, and he knows.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I was going to give you your props, Dee, because I saw, being serious, I saw with my own eyes how you built up that culture there, and how your players knew that you cared about them. So
wow,
that's how you had that turnaround year there. So
look, I'll have to tell you this: having you as a coach, that was an experience, and I'll never forget it. And I'm forever grateful for having somebody like you in my life, because the way that you've given me confidence, especially knowing that I'm a player now moving over to a head coaching seat, there's so many negative things that you feel coming your way already. But then when you have someone who's a sounding board and you're steady and you just empowered me on the daily, that did me justice in a major way. It really did.
Anytime, because
You're good people. You're good people.
Well, you are too. And so we'll look forward to hearing you and having you join us next week.
Maybe we should do it together, the 22nd.
Well, whatever you want to do, okay?
Q&A style, Q&A. Matthew, what you think about that?
I like it. I got to make sure you guys, keep the gloves off.
I know.
So,
We'll be civil. We'll be civil.
be civil.
Well,
We'll be
I'll
civil.
think about that, how we could do it together. I know everyone wants to hear you, Delisha, but I really maybe could ask you questions about how you did your coaching at Pepperdine and really got them to buy in. You know,
Mhm.
after you moved up from being assistant to the head coach.
Mhm. Okay.
It was transformative for the players, you know, and it's, I know they missed you after you left, but you know, you went
They
on.
didn't. They didn't miss. They threw a ticker tape parade. They were happy I was gone.
They sent you flowers.
Dead ones. Oh man. But yeah, I totally don't mind, sharing, my experiences and what I did and how much praying I had to do in order to make sure that I was where I needed to be so that I can be what they needed me to be.
Well, that's great. And like I gave a quote at the beginning is that you need to be the headlight, not the tail light. You must lead.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You have no choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Either lead or be led out the door. One of the two.
The wagon, get kicked off the wagon.
You got that right. Yes.
And Coach, your email address is on the Old Dominion site.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll shoot you an email then, and we'll be in touch. And
Okay.
if you want to talk about, different things, maybe subjects to that you can present about or talk about, we can have a dialogue.
No problem. I'm open to whatever.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Okay,
I
with
didn't know I
that-
was gonna get me a speaking gig out of this. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Ebony's the master booker here.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Ebony, man, her contact list runs deep.
It sure does.
Devontae has a question, Matthew.
Oh,
Devontae,
he should be on. Here,
he
let me
has a
get-
question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go.
Unmute him.
Ebony, start charging a finder's fee too while you're at it.
I'll say, Coach Jones, Coach Milton Jones. I'll say one of the things I'll be interested in is how you were able to turn around programs, because I'm in a turnaround program right now myself. Still, year 2, so I'll be curious to see how you were able to do it and connect, especially young women, because I'm trying to do it right now. It's already making me get gray hair.
Oh, look, I got plenty of them up here to prove it. It's inevitable. That's going to happen. If you care, that's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh-huh. No doubt. Well, yeah, I would love to impart whatever wisdom, and I put that in quotation marks, that I have to offer. No problem whatsoever with doing that.
And then I wouldn't mind, is there a way to contact you too personally? So I wouldn't mind getting to communicate with you and picking your brain about some other things too.
Okay, text me your cell phone number in this chat, and I'll get
Okay,
it.
we'll do.
Okay. All right.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Hey,
No
hey,
problem.
Delisha, it's late. It's late in Virginia and Norfolk, so be safe driving home.
Oh yeah, look, I'm still at the office. Y'all already know what's going on.
I know. Be safe.
Yep.
That's a nice
In the office. Thank you. I haven't done any decorating, so don't judge me.
I didn't see my picture on your wall yet.
It's on the floor. It's my mat when I walk in.
Oh, okay.
You know I love you.
Have a good one.
Y'all don't understand. She beats me up when she sees me. She pinches me. She punches me. She kicks me.
Don't believe those lies, and more lies.
No, she's my fave. She's my fave, and she knows it.
All right, y'all.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
I love you
All
all.
right.
Thank you so much.
Love y'all. Be safe, y'all.
All right,
Delisha,
bye,
I'll email
everybody.
you. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
guys.
Bye, everyone.
Huh?
Bye, everyone.
Send me that sermon.
Bye, Ebony.
Okay, I will. I
Okay.
got you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Ebony, you know I love you.
Hey, I love y'all. I love you, Steve. I love you, Matt. Y'all be safe. Devontae. Love you, my
Yes.
man, Michael. Love you,
Love
the
you too.
truth.
You guys
All
have a
right,
good
y'all.
one.
Okay.
Helen, I'll see you guys.
Call me,
Bye.
Coach. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Colleen.